Hello, today we will talk about every scientific law. The first scientific law will be Newton's law of gravitation is one of the fundamental laws of nature that states that every object is attracted to other objects by a force that is proportional to their mass and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. This means that the greater the mass of an object, the stronger it attracts other objects, and the closer they are to each other, the stronger this attractive force is. Newton's law is evident in all aspects of our lives and in natural phenomena. It explains why apples fall to the ground, why the sun holds the planets in its embrace, and how the moon moves around the earth. This law is the basis for understanding gravitational phenomena and is used in many areas of science, technology, and engineering, including astronomy, aviation, physics, and engineering. The next scientific law will be Mendel. Mendel's laws are the fundamental principles of heredity formulated by Austrian scientist Gregor Mendel in the early 19th century. The basic idea of Mendel's laws is that the properties of organisms are transmitted to descendants according to certain rules that are reflected in the interaction of genus. The main provisions of Mendel's laws are as follows. The law of purity of hybrids. If you cross two organisms that have different allelic forms of the same trait, for example, green and yellow peas, then all the offspring will have only one of these forms. The law of hybrid cleavage. In the first generation of hybrids, a trait can be found in only one of the allelic forms, but in subsequent generations, the trait is cleaved in a 3:1 ratio. The law of independent allele assortment. Genes that determine different traits are distributed independently of each other in heredity. Mendel's laws are the basis of genetics and are used to understand hereditary mechanisms in living organisms, as well as for practical purposes, such as improving crops and developing new plant varieties. The next scientific law will be Amdahl. Amdahl's law is an important principle in the field of parallel programming and computing, formulated by computer genius Jean Amdahl in 1967. Amdahl's law states that when the speed of one part of a computing system, e.g., the speed of the processor, increases, the overall performance of the computing system is limited by the speed of the slowest part. Amdahl's law can be formulated as follows. When implementing improvements in a part of the system that is a fraction of the total execution time, the possibility of increasing performance is limited by the size of this part. In other words, if a part of a program can be accelerated and the rest of the program is independent of these changes, the overall performance gain will be limited by the speed of the slowest part. This law is important for understanding the performance and optimization of parallel programs and systems such as multi-core processors and distributed computing. It also emphasizes the importance of balancing resources and optimizing critical sections of program code to maximize the performance of computing systems. The next scientific law will be Ampere. Ampere's law is a basic law of electrodynamics that describes the interaction between electric currents. This law was formulated by the French physicist André-Marie Ampère in 1820. Ampere's law states that the magnetic field created by an electric current in a conductor is proportional to the strength of that current and inversely proportional to the distance from the conductor. Ampere's law helps us understand how a current flowing through a conductor creates a magnetic field around it. This law is the basis for understanding the operation of electromagnetic machines, such as electric motors and transformers, and it is one of the key components of electrodynamics that allows us to design and analyze complex electrical and magnetic systems. The next scientific law will be Darcy. Darcy's law is a law that describes the movement of fluid through porous media, such as soils, sands, or porous rocks. The law was formulated by French engineer Henry Darcy in 1856. Darcy's law states that the velocity of a fluid through a porous medium is proportional to the pressure gradient in that medium and inversely proportional to the fluid's viscosity. In other words, this law determines how fast a fluid moves through a porous medium, depending on the pressure gradient and the characteristics of the fluid itself. Darcy's law is important in hydrogeology, oil and gas, and other industries, where it is important to understand and predict the movement of fluids through porous media for exploration, production, or storage of liquid resources.